Hello and welcome to Educated STEM. I'm Kate, the founder of Educated STEM, and today I thought we'd discuss graduate school interview questions. So I have a separate video on graduate school interviews, which please go and watch that video to see how they run and the preparation that you ought to do. But you need to think about the questions. So there's two sorts of questions on an interview, those that you are asked and those that you ask. And so remember, there's questions that you can't prepare for, and that's okay. They're literally trying to see your problem solving and how you respond to stress. But there are questions that you can prepare for, and you should, and you also need to have a list of questions that you can ask the different people that you meet during your interview. So for a graduate school interview, those are separated into three categories: the professors, the administrators, and the graduate students. And some of the questions are going to overlap because you're going to get different responses depending on who you ask. So if you ask a professor, for example, on a class they teach, they probably think it's great. If you ask a graduate student about the same class, they may have a very different opinion about it. And the administrator may or may not have an opinion because they may or may not have access to the questionnaire that the students fill in at the end of the course, giving feedback to the professor. So again, you're going to ask the same question to different groups of people so you can see how the answers compare. And why do you do that? Because hopefully you're going to get multiple offers and you're going to use the answers to these questions to decide which of the schools you want to attend in the end, assuming that you get multiple offers, fingers crossed. So the first thing that we're going to do is go through some of the questions that you are going to potentially be asked. And what I would recommend is that you have a mock interview, either with a professor, a mentor, a career counsellor or coach, one of your friends, or maybe someone who's gone through the interview process recently. So maybe someone from last year or someone who's already been interviewed by a school this year. And think about the way that you respond to the questions, but also think about whether you're getting the enthusiasm across for the program, the school, the professor that you're being interviewed by, because you want to show them during the interview that this is your top place. I know there are some schools that are going to be kind of safety schools, and that's fine. But when you actually go to the interview, you can't let the safety school know that they're a safety school. You still need that offer so that you have something to fall back on. Okay? So let's talk about the questions that you might expect to be asked. So the first one, how did you hear about this opportunity? And this is twofold. A, they want to know if you found it yourself, but B, schools spend an awful lot of money advertising for their programs, and so they're going to use this answer to know which advertisements were effective and which weren't. So this isn't necessarily a question to do with you, but it will help the program. Why did you choose the program or the university? So obviously you're going to use your research about the school to answer this one. Maybe it's because there's a particular professor that you want to work for, they have something unique about the training that they provide, whatever it is, this is your option to show them. In the same vein, what do you know about this program or school? Again, they're asking to see if you've done your homework, and this might sound silly, but I've had candidates show up before and they haven't done their research. And it isn't until after the interviews have finished and they've learned more about the school, they're like, oh no, I would have done so much more preparation if I'd realized this or that. And so, they've done a lackluster job at interviewing and they've realized that this is no longer a safety school. This is actually where they want to come. So don't let that happen to you. Do your research in advance. If you are international, they might ask you, why do you want to come and do your studies abroad? So obviously have that answer in the back of your mind because that's a very obvious one. And they might also, during the interview, be checking your proficiency for English because it's likely that you're going to be trained in English. And so they're looking at your comprehension and also your ability to speak as well. Tell me about your background or research experience. And so this is going to come up. There's no way that this isn't going to come up if you're going to be interviewing for a graduate school. So top tip, have prepared an answer for this. and have props. So even if it's not in person, even if it's over Zoom, you can have diagrams that you can then show your interviewer to show them what you have been up to. And don't assume that the person interviewing you is necessarily an expert in this field. Some schools have a bank of interviewers, and depending on who is available, they just put that person into the slot. They may not be familiar with what you're doing. So just make sure that you have a diagram to explain the field that you're working on, the pathway, and then have some diagrams or results that you can show them to say, this is the question that I'm studying, this is how I decided to research it, these are my results, and this is the future direction. So make sure that you have a little story that you can then tell the interviewer. They need the complete package. Why are you interested in this particular field? It's an obvious one, so make sure that you have that response. You've probably mentioned it somewhere in your essay, in your statement of interest or purpose, but make sure that you repeat that. Don't assume that the person interviewing you has read your statement. Hopefully they have, but maybe they haven't. What are your future plans? This is a really obvious one. So are you thinking about moving on into academia? Do you want to go into a pharmaceutical company? You know, what is this graduate degree going to do for you, essentially, in the end? They are probably going to ask at some point what other schools you applied for and where you're going to be interviewing. And when you think about it, this might sound like a dodgy question because you're like, why should I tell you? But they're actually trying to decide how competitive you are and how competitive their offer needs to be, maybe how quickly their offer needs to be in order to lure you from those programs. So, you know, say for example, you're interviewing at 8 different programs, that shows that you're a hot commodity. And so if they really like you, they better get you their offer quickly. So that might push you higher up their list of candidates. So answer the question honestly, because it might actually help you get a much faster offer. What are your strengths and weaknesses? You may not get this one. This is one of those standard interviews questions that you might get somewhere else, but just have something at the back of your mind just in case this does come up. Now, they might ask you for an example of something. So give an example where you've worked as a team member, you've provided leadership, you've taken initiative, you've dealt with a challenge, you've dealt with failure, you've dealt with conflict. One of these might come up. So just have a quick think about what your response might be for any of these. And you know, maybe practice them, because if you've practiced something, it comes out a little bit more authentically, it comes out a little better. So even if you practice just a couple of times, just have that done so that when you get asked the question, it just kind of rolls off the tongue. So the unexpected curveballs. These are the questions that you cannot predict, and that they're literally, they want to see how you respond to stress. They want to see you do the problem solving literally on the spot. So again, keep calm, think about the question, and logically go through your answer. So an example of this. If you were a fruit, what would you be and why? I don't know. I haven't thought about being a fruit before. So, you know, think about it. Maybe it's your favorite fruit. Maybe it's a fruit that you can use in many different things. Whatever it is, you need to explain why. Another good question. If you could meet anyone from history, who would it be and why? So if you're in a STEM field, you know, maybe you'll want to be mentioning a scientist. So, you know, a Jenna or a Rosalind Franklin. So just someone, and explain that. So personally, I'd want to meet Rosalind Franklin. You know, she got completely screwed over by James Watson, Francis Crick, and Maurice Wilkins. So, you know, how does she feel about them basically stealing her lab notebook and, you know, looking at that famous figure and figuring it out ahead of her? You know, I would love to find that out. That is my reason. I would explain that to an interviewer. And hopefully that would show them my problem solving, and also that I'm very, very interested in DNA repair, which oddly enough, or DNA, which is what I used to research. So that would have been a perfect question should I have been asked that. So again, remain calm, and silence is your friend. You can sit there and think about your answer for a few moments. Don't just blurt out, as soon as you think of something. You can sit there and mull something over. So your next set of questions are the questions you're going to ask the professors. So, what do you think of this town, the university, the department, or the program? What would you change about this town, the university, department, or program? So hopefully they're going to give you an honest answer when it comes to this. Clearly they're trying to sell the program, hopefully, but you might see something when you ask the question, if you see them kind of go, eep! Maybe that's a sign that there's something that they're not quite happy with, and so you might want to think about whether you do accept the offer if you're given the opportunity. I like, if you were a student offered the opportunity to come to this program, would you accept? They're probably not expecting that one, but hopefully you can see again from their response if there is potentially an issue that you might want to be aware of. How many students are you accepting each year, and how many people are you interviewing? So this kind of gets to the crux of, what are your chances of getting that offer letter here? Are they interviewing 4 times as many people as they have slots? So you might have a 1 in 4 chance. Let's figure that out. What qualities ensure student success in this program? So you're asking this to kind of get a feel for, do you have those qualities, and maybe do their values line up with yours? Because you probably don't want to go to school where their qualities that they think are successful are not something that jives with you. How many graduate students are you currently working with? This is a key one if this individual is someone that you'd be interested in working with. What graduate courses do you teach, and how often are they offered? So this is a key one because you're going to be in school for a number of years. And so if this course is not offered very frequently and it's something that you want to do, then it might actually hinder you advancing to candidacy if you need to have finished your courses before then. If this is someone you're interested in working with, what is your mentoring style? That can help you. What qualities are you looking for in a graduate student? This might be different to what makes you successful in the program, but it's good to know if you want to work for them. Will you be accepting students next year? What are the chances of my working with you? Again, if you're interested in that particular individual. What are your current projects? Is there something that I might be interested in? Again, only if you want to work with that person. A key one for me, what are your previous students doing now? This actually tests whether they're open to non-academic careers, because if they, are derogatory about someone who's moved into pharmaceutical company or completely gone to something non-scientific, then that will definitely tell you something. And if you're thinking about going a different route, then that might put you off working for the individual. Now, questions for administrators. Again, some of these are going to repeat, so I will go through some of them. When can I expect to hear from you? When will you be giving offers? Now, again, there might be a party line, so they might have a generic response. You'll hear from us in February or whatever. That might not be truthful, but they might have to give you that response. But ask just so that you have an idea. You'll know if you go to the website, thegradcafe.com, so you can actually tell when people have received offers if people complete the school's profile on the grad school cafe. How many students are accepted each year? How many people are you interviewing? Again, that's a repeat. How are students funded during the program, and what is included in the funding? So do you get health and medical insurance, dental and vision? If you're in America, that's a really key thing because insurance is really expensive, especially if you're coming in as an international student. What is expected to receive funding, and what is the time commitment? So for some schools, you're going to have to do some TAing, so that's being a teaching assistant or something else in order to qualify. So you should know that going in. Where do graduate students usually live, and does the stipend provided give you enough money to live at, in this location, or basically, are you going to go into debt? This is a key thing to know going in. So certain places are far more expensive to live, so you need to know that ahead of time. What happens if a student's advisor loses funding or leaves the institution? Now, clearly this is a kind of worst case scenario, but it does happen. So you need to know, would they just move you into a different lab? You know, how easy is that to do? How long does it typically take for a student to graduate? Is there an expected graduation timeline? And what happens if a student doesn't meet it? You know, if you're in a PhD program, are they going to boot you out with a master's even though you've been there, you know, 7, 8 years? That's a key thing to know. What are your previous students doing now? What career paths did they take? Again, how successful are people once they've completed the program? And what career preparation is provided? Are there seminars for different career options? Is there a career center or individual designated to advise you? Again, how are they going to help you get a job once you leave? So just because you have the piece of paper that says that you've got a master's or a doctorate in a topic, doesn't mean that you're going to walk into a job easily. So are they going to prepare you for that? Fingers crossed, the answer is yes. Now, your questions for students. So what do you think of this town, university, department or program? What would you change about the town, university, department or program? So compare that to the professors. If you were starting again, would you come to this program? So this is a key one. You know, they're in there, they're kind of stuck. Would they do it again? And that answer is going to tell you all you need to know about the program, because if the answer is no, that's a massive red flag. Do you really want to go into this program? And if they say no, drill deeper. Is it because of what you're researching? Is it a professor? What has happened to give you that opinion? Ask them how many students are accepted and how many are interviewing. Their response might be more truthful than the other 2 responses that you've currently received. Again, what qualities ensure student success in the program? What professor do you work with? Would you recommend working with them? Especially if it's someone that you're interested in working with. Are there professors you avoid and why? So again, make sure that you know who you shouldn't work for. How are the students funded during the program? What is expected to receive funding and what is the time commitment? How long does it typically take for a student to graduate? What are the previous students doing now? What career preparation is provided? Are there seminars available for different career options? Is there a career center or individual designated to advise you? Again, they may not know. A lot of the times I'm told, you know, the school didn't prepare me appropriately. No, they were sending you a billion emails telling you about all of these different opportunities and you were just hitting delete. So you were given the opportunity, you just didn't take them. So again, the administrator might actually know this and the student doesn't. So again, you can figure that out when you compare your answers. Where do graduate students usually live? Does the stipend provide enough money to cover? You might get a completely different response because that student is trying to survive on that stipend. So again, is it possible? Does it stretch? Do you feel welcome in the community? Are you reflected in the population? So again, you can ask the students, but also look around when you go there. So, you know, will you feel comfortable if there isn't someone who looks like you somewhere teaching you, being involved in your training? You know, that is quite an important thing for you. What is the culture like? Are students competitive or are they helpful towards each other? That could also go towards the professors. Do they help you or not? What are the faculty administrators like? Can you go to conferences and who pays for your attendance? What is necessary in order to get funding to go to the conferences? So again, long list of questions. If you want to see this list of questions, you can go to my website, educatedstem.com, and literally print out the blog. It's all there for you. You know, I tried to make sure that it was as comprehensive as possible because remember, they're interviewing you, but you are interviewing them too. So if you get multiple offers, you need to figure out who you want to go to for, you know, if it's a master's, a couple of years, but if it's a PhD, you're looking at 5+ years in America. So let's make sure that you are making a good choice for you and that you're choosing the programs appropriately. So again, I hope these questions will help you. And let's prepare appropriately for the interview. Good luck. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out educatedstem.com for more helpful blogs. And I look forward to helping you in the future. Good luck with your interviews.